From the heart of Nebraska's capital city, this is the Nebraska Family Alliance Report. Here's your host, Nate Graz.
And welcome to the program. We have a great show today. We're joined by a very special guest to talk about where we're at as a nation as we approach America's 250th anniversary, how we can live faithfully, and what it means to actually rededicate ourselves to our family, to our community, to our country, and most of all, to God. We're honored to be joined now by Professor Robert George from Princeton University and one of the foremost Christian leaders and thinkers in our country today, and the founder of Fidelity Month. So, Professor George, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you, Nate. It's a great pleasure to be on your show.
Well, we're delighted to have you, especially at a really important point in our nation's history. And before we get into a little bit of that, the last couple of years, we have helped promote and talk about Fidelity Month, which we now recognize in June. And so I would love to hear from you directly how this idea came to you to start Fidelity Month, what it's all about, and what you hope that people take away from it this month in June.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk a bit about Fidelity Month, Nate. Back in 2023, I got up one morning and was having my tea and cookies for breakfast, and I opened my one of my social media accounts, and I read about a poll that had been published in the Wall Street Journal that rather alarmed me because it showed that over the past couple of decades, the belief of the American people in some traditional values that always held us together, that were the sources of our unity and strength, had plummeted. So, for example, belief in the importance of faith had gone way down. Belief in the importance of the family had gone way down. Belief in the importance of patriotism and care for one communities, way down. We come from many different races, many different religions, many different ethnic backgrounds, many different cultural heritages. But what bound us together historically across those lines of division was, number one, of course, belief in the principles of our country, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, but also, and very importantly, a shared belief in the providence of God, going all the way back to the American founding. Didn't matter whether you were Catholic or Protestant, Christian or Jewish, Americans shared that belief in God and in the important role that faith plays in our country. Number two, we were bound together despite our differences by belief in the importance of marriage and the family. All Americans, Black, white, Asian, Latino, Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, were bound together in the belief that the family is the fundamental unit of society. It's critically important. Only in the context of the family do children really thrive. And then number three, we were bound together by a shared patriotism, a shared belief in the principles of our country, as I mentioned here at the beginning. So the idea of Fidelity Month struck me as a time when we could rededicate ourselves as a nation. Let's take the month of June. Let's, despite our many, many differences, political differences, religious differences, ethnic differences, try to lay those aside and get back to those shared values, those shared sources of our unity and strength, to fidelity to God, to fidelity to our spouses and children, our families, and then fidelity to our country and to our communities. So that's the history. That's how it came about.
Yeah, well, what I love about, we just don't really hear much about fidelity in our modern age and culture much more. And it stands in such a stark contrast to celebrating Pride in the month of June. What have you seen, different people and organizations do? How can they engage with Fidelity Month, even just personally or within, their own family, their own homes? This idea of fidelity and rededicating ourselves to the things that really matter.
What I love about Fidelity Month and the concept of fidelity is that it gets us away from this idea that everything is always about me and my desires and my getting ahead and my gratifications and to getting what I want. And it puts the focus back on giving to others, serving others, being grateful, being thankful, fulfilling our end of things so that we're not just takers, but we're contributors, being loyal to God, who after all is the source of our very being, being loyal to our spouses and families who give us so much, being loyal to our country, and the blessings that we get from our country, of course, are beyond anything known in human history, and to our communities. So that's really the importance of Fidelity Month. It's about looking beyond ourselves. It's about what I can do for others, my responsibilities. It's about virtue and it's about duty. And those are things that historically Americans have celebrated, and we have to get back to them. Now, how can folks all over the country participate in Fidelity Month? Number one, go to our website at fidelitymonth.com. You'll see that this is a grassroots movement. It's not directed from the top down. I don't have a staff. I don't have a budget. This is really coming up from the grassroots. People all over the country are celebrating Fidelity Month by, for example, using the Fidelity Month logo, which you can get free of charge on your social media accounts for the month of June. Use it as your profile picture. Use it as your banner photo. It's a beautiful image. It's the myrtle leaf in gold and blue. The myrtle leaf is historically going all the way back into antiquity, the symbol of fidelity. Number two, you can talk to your pastor about perhaps preaching on the importance of fidelity, at least one sermon during Fidelity Month. You can organize at your church or community center a lecture, invite a speaker, or hold a panel discussion, especially in this year when we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence and the founding of our country. You can have a special event dedicated to the concept of patriotism, to the concept that we owe things to our country that has given so much to us. Of course, we as Christians, we as believers, believe that our ultimate loyalty is to God, but that doesn't mean that we don't also have obligations to our country, that we shouldn't be faithful to our country. The great teachers of Christianity, figures like St. Augustine, for example, have always taught that while our ultimate allegiance is to God and he has our first loyalty, we're also meant to be the very best of good citizens. Yes, in a way, we as Christians believe that we're resident aliens here on earth. This world is not our real home. At the same time, we're called to be loyal, faithful, good citizens, and especially in a democratic republic where we govern ourselves through our elected representatives in our institutions, our democratic institutions, it's very important that we be active and patriotic citizens. Write letters to the editor. Use your social media accounts to post articles that are important to the cause of fidelity, or make a comment yourself on your social media account about the importance of God, of family, of country, of community. If you go to fidelitymonth.com, you'll see lots and lots of suggestions about how you can help spread the message of Fidelity Month. Another thing you can do, be in touch with your local officials or your state officials about recognizing Fidelity Month officially. We just learned today, wonderful news, that Arkansas, the great state of Arkansas, will now be recognizing officially Fidelity Month in Arkansas. The Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, will be releasing a proclamation proclaiming the month of June as Fidelity Month in Arkansas, a month when citizens of that state will be united in rededicating themselves to faithfulness to God, to spouses and families, and to our country and communities. So there are lots of things you can do. It's not directed from the top down. You decide from the bottom up. Spread the word. Let's help everyone to understand the importance of fidelity.
Yeah, well, again, as we're approaching America's 250th anniversary, I can't think of anything that would be more important than recognizing and remembering and celebrating fidelity to God, family, and country. And, it was G.K. Chesterton who observed that America is the only country in the world that was founded on a creed. And, of course, that creed says that all men are created equal, that we have been endowed with certain inalienable rights, and that those rights come from God and not government. And it's really that belief, that understanding that has separated our nation from every other nation throughout world history. And so as we approach America 250, what does it look like? What does it mean for believers to live faithfully at this moment in our nation's history?
Well, Chesterton visited our country. He was born and bred in England. He was through and through an Englishman. But he came to our country and he really enjoyed his visit. And when he returned to England, and he was telling people about England, he wrote a famous line that said, I found that America is a nation with the soul of a church. A nation with the soul of a church. And that's true. And what he was referring to there, of course, is that this creed really matters, that the creed, the principle of faith, in other words, that all men are in fact created equal, that they're endowed by God himself, by their creator, with certain unalienable rights. This is critical for us Americans. We understand in a way that no other people has ever understood that our rights don't come from presidents. They don't come from kings. They don't come from congresses or parliaments or Supreme Courts. Those institutions are important, but they exist to protect our rights. They didn't create them. And because they didn't create them, they can't take them away. God gave us our rights. Government has no legitimate power to interfere with those rights or take those rights away. As I say, its real job, its most basic job is to protect those rights. So what can we do as Americans to help to support the principles of the American creed? We can remind ourselves, remind each other, remind our children of the importance of the creed, that we are a people called on in our very founding documents to acknowledge that the basic source of our rights and our duties, remember those rights are correlative to duties, the ultimate source of our rights and duties is God himself. It's not the state, it's not the government, it's not the law, it's not the president, it's not the Congress, it's God himself.
Yeah, it's so good. It's a great reminder for all of us. And I love that on some of the promotional materials I've seen for Fidelity Month, you include a line that says, "Don't just curse the darkness, be a light." What does that mean to you? And as we wrap up here, how do you hope people apply that and seek to live faithfully, as you said, not just for ourselves, but for the generations who are counting on our faithfulness today?
Well, we look out into the world, Nate, and we see lots of bad things, lots of things that are unjust, lots of things that are untrue, lots of causes that really shouldn't be being promoted. We see lots of people celebrating things that really shouldn't be celebrated, things that we should be fleeing from rather than embracing. Now, we could spend a lot of time criticizing all that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with criticizing things that are wrong. We should be doing that. But even more important than, as I put it, cursing the darkness, is lighting the candle, showing the better way, or as Scripture says, the more excellent way. And Fidelity Month is all about that. Fidelity Month is not about criticizing other stuff. It's about affirming the good stuff, faith in God, fidelity to spouses and families, commitment to our country and to our community. So that's why we're using that analogy of we're not cursing the darkness, we're lighting a candle. Fidelity Month really is a candle to remind us of what's really important, the values and the causes that should be celebrated. So it's an entirely positive thing. It's not cursing anybody. It's not criticizing anybody. Not that there aren't things that deserve to be criticized. There certainly are. But criticizing is one thing. But we're going to focus now on the other thing, which is showing the more excellent way, lighting the candle.
Amen. Well, we know that darkness can only be dispelled by light, and we've been put here to be that light. So, Professor George, thank you so much again for joining us today and for the incredible work that you're doing across our country to be a light, to inspire fidelity at a critical time in our nation's history.
Well, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you again, Nate.